so pleased today to have Mrs. Judy-Ann Bradshaw join us. Judy-Ann is an egg farmer, and her company Heritage CEB is located and operates here in Barbados. Thanks for joining us, Judy-Ann. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi,
Thanks.
how are you today?
Hi. I am well. I am well. I have all kinds of questions for you. I have them here in front of me. So let's jump in. Let's start off, Judy, by telling those of us, including myself, what is egg farming? Can you define this industry? Because I don't even know what is a layer. What is? Just tell me about
Oh,
egg
okay.
farming.
A layer is a type of bird that produces eggs for human consumption. So that's what egg farming basically is. So you're growing these layers to produce eggs for human consumption.
Ah, so that is the business of heritage, right?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
heritage CEB. Yeah.
Yes. So did you require, Julianne, to become the egg farmer? Did you require any specialized educational training, or was it direct working on the farm, hands-on experience? How did you get to where you are now?
Actually, that is so funny because growing up, I didn't grow up on no farm or anything, but my husband grew up on a farm and he learned all the farming from his dad. Hence, that's where the name came from. Heritage CEB is actually my father-in-law's initials. So it's actually hands-on. We have no education wise on that. It's just hands-on.
Just from generation to generation.
Correct, correct.
Yes,
And I got
that is.
involved because my husband got involved, so I followed him into it.
And here you are. Okay, so
Yeah,
you were telling me a
yeah.
little bit more about heritage and how it started out. So Heritage, did it start out as this large scale egg producing facility, or was it like a hobby in the backyard and it just grew and grew and grew with your dad, father?
Actually, we
Mm.
we actually did not start out with eggs. We actually
Ah,
started out, well, not with the layers. We actually started out with boilers. Boilers are the chickens that you grow to eat.
ah,
And yeah. So we actually started out with that 13 years ago. And it wasn't really a hobby. It was to do with subsidizing our home income. So we started out small with 60 chickens, and then we asked some of our friends if they would like to buy some chickens. And from there, the business grew because friends told other friends. And from there, we got bigger and bigger. But we stopped doing the boilers about 4 years ago because we realized chickens we were getting a problem in 2018, 2019. They're not growing big enough and it's an up and down business. And we had started the egg business about 5 years, just adding to the chickens that we were selling. And from there, the egg business got bigger. So in 2020, I went and I got a brand. And when the pandemic came, we were actually now starting going to supermarkets and we were going to do it in September of 2020 because we were now getting our labels ready and everything. So by September of 2020, we would have started. But the pandemic came in March. So we had to up everything into March. And actually, the pandemic brought better for our business. So that's how we started in 2020 with a brand, Heritage CEB.
oh wow, that's very
Yeah,
interesting. So
yeah,
you started out with, you see, I've already learned something, the difference between a broiler and a layer. I never
yeah,
knew that.
yeah, yeah.
So you went from the broilers, which is the chickens that we eat and cut up and cook, and now
Right.
to focusing now on the
To
layers.
layers.
Right.
Right.
So
And
now,
the interesting things about the broiler chicken is 6 weeks. You grow those for 6 weeks and they're processed and those are sold. But with layers, when you get them from a chick, they actually take 6 months before they start laying. Yes, 6 months. So you'll actually have an income coming in when you first start that business because it takes 6 months before they start to lay.
it's very interesting. And then how long does what's the lifespan of a layer?
A layer, 2 years.
Two
So they
years.
live for basically, yeah. So they will live for so it's 6 months till they start laying, and then they have a year and a half, and then after that, after 2 years, most of them just die from old age,
Oh,
what was considered old age in chicken years. Some might last a little
okay.
longer than the two
Mm-hmm.
years, but they basically only start producing for a year and a half, and then every minute you have to keep refreshing the layer
Okay.
business. So you keep buying
Right.
layers
So
every
right. So
six.
those same layers have you take chicks from that and you grow them. So it is a sustainable cycle.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. So I whenever I was reading up about a little bit about the chickens, I see terms like cage free and free range and pasture raised and certified organic. Does any of that apply here in the Barbados and Caribbean? Do we?
Um, yes. No,
Mm-hmm.
there is no body that governs those terms. They are loosely used. No, to explain what those are, I have to explain what actually goes on. So overseas, worldwide, there's something called battery cages. These are cages that are made out of wire, and they're the size of a filing cabinet drawer. Now, for commercial businesses, they put sit between 8 to 10 chickens in that size. Okay, and they don't move. So they are eating, drinking, and laying eggs in that same cage. So the eggs, so that battery cage then is lowered, is on a slant. So then when they lay an egg, the egg rolls and goes on to an automated belt, which is then sent where it's going to. So the egg will basically be clean because it's dropping, rolling, and going onto automated belt, which goes, and that's commercial. So most big commercials, that's what they do worldwide. But for me, that's inhumane to animals, because they don't move. They can't move in there. So most, but that is the, if you are looking to make money, that is the way that they make money. Now, Switzerland, I think, is the first place that stopped doing battery cages. It's actually illegal in Switzerland, and that was in 1992 that they stopped that. Other European countries, the states and them are trying to stop it, but it's the most economical way of making, producing a lot of eggs for the commercial side. So that's where you get, that's where you see cage free. That term cage free is to let customers know, well, the animals are not put in this little small cage that they can't move around. So that's where that cage free comes from. Free range, also a free range and cage free actually work together because you have a pen that is built big and chickens can move around. They can fly on perches and perch on with sticks that you put up. So that's where that came from. And so anyone who has a pen and is big enough, your chickens can fly and move around, is actually free range. And pasture raised now is, well, like my chickens are all outside. So they're on 2 acres of land walking around. Right. For the first 6 months, they are actually in the pens. So when it comes to the 6 months, we let them out. And at night, they know which pens to go back to because they've been in there for 6 months before. So they actually go back. So they go,
Oh,
yeah.
so you don't have to go and
So they're
collect them.
outside. Pardon me?
You don't have to go and collect them and usher them
No,
back
no,
into.
no.
Oh wow.
Darling, I can't even find half of them. Some of them are sleeping in my trees because I got named trees. They're up in the trees sleeping. All of them do not go back to their pens.
Oh,
Some sleep outside. So sometimes you go, I have an almond tree, you might find them in the almond tree sleeping. So all of them
wow.
actually do not go back in. It is not the most economical way of doing this business, but for me, we enjoy it and we enjoy seeing the chickens out. And I think that that's a better egg because they're out there, they're walking around, they're exercising, they're able to groom themselves and everything. So, but it's not the most economical because I don't get all the eggs because sometimes it's 2 acres. So I get the eggs that they go back in and lay in the pens because we have on their boxes. So all the pens are installed with layer boxes that they actually go into. It's like a nesting box, and they will lay in those boxes.
So they lay some outside and some inside. So you don't
Correct.
get the ones that you would have laid outside it.
Well,
Ah,
if we find the area where they've laid outside,
mm,
we go there every day, twice a day to make sure. Because every chicken lays different times. You hear in Barbados, oh, chickens lay twice a day. They do not. A chicken lays once a day, and it's every 16 hours that a chicken lays. It's 16 hours, and it must have light. That's what helps the process of making an egg inside of a chicken. They have to have 16 hours of sun of light.
wow. I
So
didn't know.
yeah, a lot of people don't know that. It's been a lot a
Um,
learning process.
I'm telling you. So this leads me up to my next question because I was going to say this industry sounds like it requires a lot of physical stamina and a lot of skill to just monitor and assess your chickens and so on. So I was going to ask you to walk me through your typical day, Judy-Ann, as an
Mhm.
egg farmer. So what does that look like?
Well, it's only my husband and I that are.
Hmm.
We have 2,000 layers, so it's only
That's
him
a
and I
lot.
that are in the business. Yeah,
Wow.
so he gets up first on the mornings.
Yeah.
So my husband would get up. His name is Peter. He would
Hmm.
get up and he would go outside. He would make sure so he feeds and waters them.
Okay.
We do
All
that twice a day.
2,000. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So we go to the different pens
Yeah.
and all the different pens and we put feeds in all of the, well, we're not automated yet. We're trying to, but we're not automated. We're trying to get there by next year, hopefully. So literally it's manually taking manual waters to the pens. So yeah, it has a lot of stamina, exercising for him. Um, I actually do CrossFit training. And he said, well, you don't need to do CrossFit training. You could come outside and help me because this is CrossFit training. So no, so yes, it does. And this is every day. This is every
Every
day,
day.
7 days a week. You cannot
Wow.
not do it because if you do not feed chickens for a day, they will stop laying. If they do not have enough
Ah.
water, they will stop laying.
So you have
So
to
this is
every morning you give them a set of feed and a set of water, and
mhm.
that sustains them for the rest of the day.
No. We go again in the
Oh,
afternoon.
oh wow.
It's twice a day that we make sure
Okay.
chickens should not, if you want a good product and
Yeah.
production going constantly, you have to make sure that they're fed and they always have feed there and that they always have a supply of water. That is important because water helps with their digestion of the feed. Yeah.
And then I imagine you gotta clean the pens at some point and all of that.
Yeah, the pens are cleaned out. But as I said, most of the chickens are outside.
Outside. So they do
So
this stuff
yeah,
outside.
during the day, yeah, they do this stuff
Okay.
outside everywhere. So when you're walking around my house, you have to have on boots, darling. You cannot have on no
They've
pretty
done their
shoes.
business outside.
No, yeah, all their business is done outside. So you gotta be careful where you're walking. So
Oh
I
wow.
actually have boots in my car when I get
Yeah.
home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's better than them doing it in the cage and then you have to clean the cage. So it all sounds better to me. Because you kind of answered my next question, which was how has the recent pandemic affected the business? And I think you said that that kind of led you up from the broilers into the layers. That's what,
yeah,
but that
yes.
started before the pandemic, right?
Yes. We the
Mm,
eggs were before the pandemic, so it was on a small scale. It was not as big as the scale that I'm on now, and it was mostly homeowners, restaurants. So if I had not made that change, it would have affected my business badly because all of those eggs would never be able to sell to all homeowners because I'm not the only person in Barbados doing, the
yeah.
egg farming. So
Mm.
everybody has someone they're supporting. So for me, the pandemic brought good for my business,
Oh,
but
that's
not for
good.
everyone that has farming.
Yeah.
It didn't work for everyone.
But I'm glad to hear that. So I hope that keeps
Yeah.
on going. And on this lighter note, now we know we are now. I'm hearing the Christmas songs on the radio already. So we know we're heading into
Mhm.
Christmas, Judy-Ann. And I remember a Christmas or two ago where we actually like ran out of eggs in Barbados. So how do you
Mhm.
prepare for the Christmas? This a mass of baking and the requirement for eggs that comes with the Christmas season.
Honestly, this is a problem that will be every year in Barbados for Christmas. A lot of
Hmm.
customers do not realize it. As I said earlier, earlier too, it takes 6 months for a
Right.
chicken to produce an egg. So You have customers that buy one tray of eggs per week or every
Yeah,
2 weeks. But when it comes
yeah,
to Christmas, they don't want 10 because
yes,
they got all these people, they got family to give
yeah,
the eggs
yeah.
to. But it is impossible for us to deal with that, honestly. And the reason being is okay, so I go 6 months before December. So I say June, and I buy, say, 1,000 layers. And I wait till December when they start laying. But then after December, after that Christmas week, January comes, everybody going back to one or two trays. What do you do then with all of those eggs? So that is the problem. So what happens, the commercial businesses here in Barbados, what they do, they would start storing eggs from June in cold storage. So that when Christmas comes, that is how come they have eggs. And some of them do import, yeah. Right? Because as I said, I
Yes, because
could
I've
come
also heard
Christmas.
about imported eggs as well. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, they have to import. So you would have this problem because after Christmas, everybody goes back to what they normally buy. And it's like,
And then here you
you know,
have all these layers now.
what
What are
do
you
you
gonna do
call-
with all these eggs?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ah,
So that's the
that is.
reason there's always a problem at Christmas
Mm-hmm.
for eggs, right? But as I said, the bigger commercial businesses, they will start storing eggs from June to cover for December. Because once you pick up eggs and you put them in cold storage, and there will be cold storage, there will be 4 months or 6 months or thing, but once they're freshly put in, egg actually lasts that long once it's in cold storage. So that's why you will get cold storage eggs in December.
Okay. Oh, that is very informative. Because I'm saying, well, you can't make your chickens produce more eggs. So now
No,
that you're explaining it, you would have to have bought more chickens. And then after
yeah,
the rush, now there you are with all those chickens, and nobody wants as many eggs.
yeah,
Okay, so
yeah. So
that
then it's like, where, what market do I find to
time,
put them? You know, I would
yeah,
happen to dump eggs, and that's not profitable to just do eggs for
or
December
December.
and then correct. So, but what most of my customers, because I do have some homeowners, loyal homeowners from 2009 that are still with me. So, what they would do, they would start early before Christmas week, and they would might increase by like two or three on trays of eggs. So then they'll put them in the fridge because it's okay because the eggs are coming to them fresh. Because my eggs are every day. Every day I sell out of all of my eggs. Oh, so they would actually start storing so that by Christmas week, there are not on my case about eggs.
Because they've actually been storing them up bit by bit, and they can stay
Yeah,
for months in the fridge. All right, so that's
correct.
a learning lesson already. Thank you for that, because I learned
Yeah.
so much already for the morning. So, Judy-Ann, let's pick your brain a little bit. If what would your advice be? Suppose I just started my new home, and I just want to have some chickens in the back for my family and I. What advice would you give me? A, and B, suppose I want to think of going into this industry. What advice would you give me? So for the small person that just want a few running around in the backyard, and then for somebody that wants to do it larger, what would your advice be to us?
Okay, for someone who just wants like 5 layers in their backyard to produce eggs for them, they need to understand that these chickens are going to be producing eggs every day, and you're not going to eat all of those eggs every day. So it becomes an expense. No, if you love chickens and you want to do it, yes, because I have advice some people who love chickens to do it.
Like pets.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
but I also made sure they understand you have to feed them every day. You cannot just throw a little scraps out their feed and stuff, especially if you want them to produce eggs. So you have to make sure that that is what you want to do. And then because what happens to a lot of people, they start it and within a couple months they're finished with it. Because you know why? You have to buy feed, you have to make sure they have their water. And it gets monotonous every minute going out there looking for the eggs, picking at the eggs, and then you're not using all these eggs, the eggs start to pile up. No, as much as you sip, someone does 30 eggs. It is not profitable because then they will start saying, well, let me see if I can sell some. In order to make a business like this profitable, you have to have a lot of layers. You can't have 30 layers. That is no help to you because in this business, like I have 2,000 layers, but all 2,000 don't lay, only 80%. So whatever numbers you have is only 80%, which is 1,600 that lay. Now during summertime, of which we're now coming out of summer, during summertime, it will drop by another 30% because the heat interferes with chickens. So I actually had a drop in my eggs. So instead of doing 1,600 eggs for the summertime, I dropped to 1,000 because outside is so hot that affects the chickens. They actually start going into something called molting and they stop laying. So when outside gets cool, then they will start back to lay. So some of them actually do stop laying. So even when you have 30, you're not going to get all 30 eggs. You get 80% of that. And but then people are like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all these eggs? So then you got to start giving to family and friends, or you might have to start selling them.
Okay.
So I just want people to recognize that,
So
they lay every day. You have to feed them every day.
so it's either that you
For
love them and you don't
Mhm.
mind having one or two in the backyard, or you have to do
Yeah,
it at a certain scale for it to be profitable. So there's no like middle
correct.
way, nothing it seems.
No, no, not in this
Oh, okay.
business. This business can go the opposite way very quickly.
Wow.
One mistake and you can lose everything in this business. Now,
Wow.
I'm not saying that to deter people. I just
Mhm.
want, because a lot of people come to me and they ask me and I encourage people in
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. So I will encourage you, but I always tell people, a lot of people do not understand the business, but because we've been in it so long, I can explain to them. Now, for commercial, if you're thinking about doing this commercial, understand it starts out with money because 1,000 layers is like $6,000. Okay. Yes. And that is buying them from a check. Okay. No, it's 6 months of feeding. You've gone into
Before you get
another.
anything back. Wow.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. 6 months of feeding them. So you're not getting anything. So that's another thousands of dollars in feed. You're not getting back anything
Yeah. So
to
you
after
have,
6 months.
another source of income coming in while you're doing
Correct.
that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
And in this business, like how we are doing our chickens is not the most economical way because as I said, I'm not getting all my eggs. My chickens are all over the place. Um, but we do this because we love it. And our chickens, we actually now when you have bad case chickens, which is the commercial, what they do when they stop laying, they will kill them off and put another fresh set in there. I can't deal with that. So our chickens live out their life on the farm till they die. Right? That's just how we love our chickens. So so if a commercial person wants to go into commercial, understand it takes time, it's dedication, and it's something that you have to love. If you know that you're not do not go in this for money purposes because it is a lot of work. If you are a party person that like going out on the weekends, this is not going to work for you.
Because
It
you got to
will
get
not
up the next morning and deal with those chickens.
because then you can't get it the next morning to go and give them feed and water.
Yes.
Okay. I
And,
know it's not only giving them feed because you can do that automated too, but it's like my
mm,
husband knows when our chickens are not feeling well. If there's a
wow.
problem, if they are stooling too much, that is a
Wow.
problem. Okay, so it is being in tune with the chickens. He's on the
Right. So
property
you know,
every day.
you
He
understand
knows.
if they're off rhythm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So this is important. So yes, you can have a business like this and it's automated, but you're not looking at the chickens. You don't know what's going on. And with also with this business, you're not going to know which chicken is laying because in bad cages, you will know if they're laying or not because 10 are in there. So if you get 10 eggs or 6 eggs, you know. But in this case, I can't tell you which one of my chickens are laying. So as a business, if you want to get into it, cool, but you have to be dedicated. It's a dedicated business. It's every day. People tell me, Judy, you work so hard. But I enjoy this. So my husband enjoys it. So yes, some nights I because everything we do right now, I don't have an egg washer, so I'm actually washing by hand every egg. Okay, is washed by hand because they're going to a solution to take off any bacteria because they're going in boxes to go to commercial. So every egg is washed. Then I have to turn around and grade them, not grade them, size them. There are different sizes. A lot of people don't know that. There's peewee, there's medium, there's large, there's extra large, and there's jumbo. And and so those don't go to the supermarket. Only large eggs, a certain weight of egg goes to the supermarkets. Package those by hand. And then I take those out every day.
And then there's
So I do it. This is
delivery.
what we do
Yeah.
every day. Okay, so
Yeah.
it is a lot of work.
Wow.
And people will talk, well, why don't you not get employees? What they don't understand, the stage I'm at with 2,000 layers, that's enough money. That's for me and my husband. That's not
Yeah.
going to work. If you want employees, you're looking at 6,000 layers at
Yeah.
least in
Yeah.
order
You
to
have to increase the
employ
scale
people.
to cover
Yes,
those wages.
right. And therefore, then you can also pay employees. But when you are on a small scale like me,
Hmm.
as a small farmer, cannot have hired people right now.
Okay.
So we actually do everything.
So it sounds, Judy, like I'm going to leave this art egg farming up to you and keep buying my eggs. I don't know. I would have the passion. I mean, dogs are one thing, but eggs, chickens, and yeah. So, Judy, before
Uh,
you go, how can we reach you? How can we reach if you want to buy some of your eggs? How do we
mhm.
reach you?
Well, we really don't allow people onto the property because if all the chickens out, we don't want any problems coming onto the property because by walking with shoes from different areas can do that. So actually I'm at quite a few outlets in Barbados. So there's Curtin Service Station, in Curtin St. Philip. Then there is Clifton Meats in Worthing, Christchurch. There is the People's Market in Tudor Bridge, St. Michael. And I'm in also Carve Me a Vino in Welch's St. Thomas, out by Costa West side, the malls out there, right? And then there are three Massey supermarkets, Haggett Hall, Six Rose,
Yes.
and Coverley.
Okay. So we can look for
Yeah.
your brand heritage CEB at those retail
Yes,
outlets. Yeah.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you so much, Judy. I have learned so much about chickens that I never knew in all my 50 plus years of being in this earth. Thank you for joining us and for sharing your knowledge about the industry and the workload and I'm grateful that you and your husband have this passion that you can keep going so we can keep getting our eggs.
Thank you for viewing. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and bookmark our websites. If you are a professional interested in contributing to the discussion, please call or email us at the contact information on your screen. Until next time, keep innovating. All the very best from the Rethink family.